All right, let's dive in. We've got a really interesting mix of stuff to unpack today. Sales tips from Jeffrey Gimmer, relationship advice from John Gray's, men are from Mars, women are from Venus, and we'll sprinkle in some, real-life stories too. Honestly, when you first sent me this stack of stuff, I was like, how's this all going to fit together? But I got to say, I'm already seeing some connections.
Yeah, I can see how you'd think that. At first glance, sales, relationships, and personal growth seem pretty different. But when you really get down to it, they're all about understanding people, right?
Yes.
Connecting with them in a genuine way.
Totally. And speaking of genuine connections, let's talk about Jeffrey Gimmer. This guy, he's known for his, how do I put this, bold approach to sales. Like suggesting a salesperson puke on a customer to make a memorable first impression, definitely not your typical sales advice.
Right. That puke thing, as crazy as it sounds, it's more of a metaphor. Gamers trying to shake things up, you know? Challenge that old school way of thinking. The polished presentations, the scripted pitches. He's all about being real, being vulnerable. Like, let your guard down,
Oh,
connect with
wow.
the customer on a human level.
Okay, I think I'm starting to get him a little better. But what about that whole trash can full of brochures? What's that all about?
Ah, yeah, that's another one of his attention-grabbing techniques. It's meant to be a little shocking, but it really reinforces his message. Ditch the generic stuff. Focus on understanding what your customer actually needs. Instead of relying on, prepackaged materials, have a real conversation, Tailor your approach to each individual.
It's kind of counterintuitive. Throw away your sales materials. Focus on building relationships instead. So it's not about pushing the product. It's about connecting with the person.
Exactly. Geimer argues that likability is the foundation of trust, which is key if you want to close deals. He even compares sales to dating. Like, you got to build that rapport. It's not just about the transaction.
Interesting analogy. So are you saying that building rapport is more important than, say, having an amazing product or being the cheapest option?
While those things definitely matter, Gimmer believes that making that genuine connection can be even more powerful. People buy from people they like, right? People they trust.
Gimmer has that very funny closing technique, injecting humor to, like, lighten the mood. Do you think that actually works? Using humor in sales, even if it seems a little unconventional.
Humor can definitely be effective when used the right way. It can help you break down barriers, create a more relaxed atmosphere. Plus, it makes you more memorable. But of course, you got to read the room, tailor your humor to the person and the situation.
Makes sense. Don't want to tell a joke that falls flat, or worse, offend someone. So Gimmer's really all about the human side of sales, building those relationships rather than just closing deals. I can definitely see how that could apply to other parts of life too, not just sales.
Oh, absolutely. Think about it. Aren't you more likely to, collaborate with someone or help someone out or even just listen to someone if you actually like them?
For sure. I got to be honest, though. I'm still a little iffy about some of Gimmer's more, uh, let's say, creative tactics.
Yeah.
I mean, how many salespeople can pull off that whole puke opening without scaring away their clients?
Yeah, Gimmer's methods aren't for everyone. Some people might find him a bit much, but his main message, that definitely resonates. Be authentic, build relationships, and focus on understanding your customers' needs.
It's interesting how Gimmer's focus on understanding individual needs kind of ties into John Gray's work on relationships. Gray argues that men and women, well, they often approach communication and problem solving from totally different angles.
Totally. Gray's men are from Mars, women are from Venus. It's all about recognizing those differences, for stronger relationships. He uses that classic example. Woman says, nothing's wrong, when clearly something is bothering her. And the man, he just takes her at her word, doesn't probe any further.
Hmm.
Recipe for disaster, right?
Yeah.
Misunderstandings, frustration.
Don't tell me about it. The nothing's wrong scenario happens at my house all the time. But how does that relate to sales?
Think about it. Let's say you're selling to a woman. If you don't pick up on those subtle cues or address her emotional needs, you could lose the sale.
So even in sales, you got to be aware of these Mars-Venus differences in communication styles. Makes sense, but it also seems like a lot to keep track of.
It can be. The key is to be observant, adaptable, paying attention to the other person's cues, both verbal and nonverbal. It can give you some really valuable insights into their needs, what motivates them.
I'm thinking about Gray's example of, what does he call it? The home improvement committee. The man wants to tackle a project solo. The woman wants to collaborate. It's like he wants to go into his cave to solve a problem. She wants to talk it out.
Exactly. And that difference in approach, it shows up in sales too. Some customers want that direct, solution-focused approach, while others need more time to think things through, explore options.
It's really hitting home for me now, understanding these communication differences. It's valuable in all kinds of interactions, not just romantic relationships.
Absolutely. Whether it's a client, a colleague, your partner, recognizing and adapting to those different styles can help you build stronger, more effective relationships.
Okay, so we've got Guillermo telling us to be authentic, build relationships, and Gray reminding us that men and women often communicate in completely different ways. Where do we go from here?
Well, both Giemer and Gray, they emphasize the importance of those little things, for building and maintaining those strong relationships. It's not always about the grand gestures. It's about those consistent, thoughtful actions that show you care.
Like Gray's flower analogy. One rose given regularly scores more points on Venus than a dozen roses all at once.
Precisely. And this applies to sales, too. Consistent follow-up, personalized notes, remembering birthdays, those small gestures can really make a difference.
I'm seeing a common thread here. It's not just about what you say, it's about how you make people feel.
You got it. Whether it's building a romantic relationship, closing a sale, or nurturing a professional connection, it's all about creating that sense of value and appreciation.
And that brings us to Gimmer's idea of a yes attitude. He thinks it's crucial for success in all areas of life.
Yes. Gimmer is all about approaching challenges with optimism and a willingness to find solutions, seeing the glass half full, believing in your ability to overcome obstacles.
I love that story about his granddaughter's first spill of the day. Instead of getting upset, she just acknowledged it and moved on. Really shows you the power of reframing.
Perfect example of a yes attitude in action. It's not about denying problems. It's about approaching them with a positive, solution-oriented mindset.
This reminds me of something Gray said about dealing with stress in relationships. He encourages couples to approach challenges as a team, work together to find solutions rather than blaming each other.
You're right. A yes attitude can really change the way we handle conflict, both personally and professionally. Instead of getting stuck in that negativity, we can focus on what we can control and look for ways to grow, to learn.
So you're saying that having a yes attitude can actually improve our relationships. Sounds a bit simple, but I'm open to it.
Well, think about it. When you approach a situation with optimism, with a willingness to find solutions, you're creating a more positive, collaborative environment. That can lead to better communication, stronger bonds, and ultimately more fulfilling relationships.
That makes sense. But isn't there a danger of being too optimistic? Could a yes attitude lead to ignoring red flags or avoiding difficult conversations?
That's a good point. You definitely need to strike a balance between optimism and realism. A yes attitude doesn't mean ignoring problems or pretending everything's perfect. It's about choosing to approach challenges with a positive mindset. Believe in your ability to find solutions. See the potential for growth and opportunity, even in tough situations.
So it's not about blind optimism. It's about choosing to focus on the positive and believing in your ability to handle challenges.
Exactly. It's about empowering yourself to control your reactions and create a more positive, productive experience, both for yourself and the people around you.
Lots to think about. So far, we've seen how Gimmer's emphasis on authenticity and relationship building in sales connects to Gray's insights into those communication differences between men and women. And we've explored the importance of those little things and the power of a yes attitude for fostering positive connections. Excited to see where else this deep dive takes us.
Let's keep exploring. There's still so much more to uncover in these sources. One thing that really stuck with me from Gimmer, it's his focus on the customer's buying motive. He says it's not enough to just, present your product or service. You got to figure out what's really driving them to buy. What's that deeper need?
Yeah, that makes sense. People are more likely to buy if it solves a problem they have, right? Or fulfills some kind of need. But how do you actually uncover those hidden motives? It's not like they're always going to come right out and say, hey, here's why I need this.
Gimmer's big on asking powerful questions, the kind that really make people think. He gives this example. Asking a CEO, what would happen if you lost 2 of your top 10 customers? Boom, gets their attention right away. Makes them think about a vulnerability they might not have considered.
Whoa, that's a bold move.
Yeah.
I can see how that would shake things up, get them thinking differently. It's not about pushing a product, it's about getting them to see the bigger picture, the potential risks.
Exactly. It's about understanding their fears, their hopes, their ultimate goals. Once you get that, you can tailor your approach to their specific needs. Show them how your product or service can help them get where they want to go.
It sounds like Gimmer's advocating for a more consultative approach to sales, where you're not just selling, you're offering solutions. building a partnership with the customer.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. He's all about creating win-win situations
Hmm.
where both the customer and the salesperson benefit. It's about building trust, long-term relationships.
So it's not just about closing that one deal. It's about creating a connection that lasts. This reminds me of Gray's point about men scoring points with those grand gestures, while women value the accumulation of those little things. Seems like a similar principle in sales, right? It's not just the big pitch, it's the consistent effort you put in.
Absolutely. Gimmer talks about milking your own cows. Focus on nurturing those existing customers rather than constantly chasing new leads. Loyal customers, they're your most valuable asset. And he offers some strategies for milking those cows, getting referrals, asking for testimonials, finding opportunities for upselling or cross-selling.
Right, makes sense. Maximize the value of those relationships you already have, rather than always being on the hunt for that next big sale. Have you seen any examples of this milk your own cows thing working? Like in real life?
Well, I've noticed that the businesses that seem to do the best, they're the ones that go above and beyond for their customers. They stay in touch, offer personalized recommendations, deal with any issues that come up proactively. It's like they're not just selling a product, they're building a community.
That's a great point. Seems especially important these days, right? Customers have so many choices, it's harder to build that loyalty.
Totally. Building strong relationships, that can be what sets you apart. It's about going beyond that one-time transaction, making people feel valued.
Giemer also has that funny tip about getting phone calls returned. Have your kid leave a message. He jokes that it's hard to ignore a plea for, like, a college fund boost, right?
That's classic Gimmer. Always thinking outside the box, finding creative ways to connect. Maybe that specific tactic isn't for everyone, but it highlights his point. You got to stand out, be memorable.
Good reminder to, inject some personality.
Hmm.
Whether you're in sales, business, just everyday life, humor, a personal touch, it can make a difference.
For sure. Gamer's all about ditching that stiff professionalism, just being yourself. Authenticity, genuine enthusiasm, it's contagious.
That enthusiasm thing makes me think of his daughter, Rebecca.
Hmm.
He mentions how she wrote in her 7th grade autobiography that she's a very positive person, just like my dad. Sounds like that yes attitude rubbed off on her.
It's a great example of how our mindset can affect the people around us. When we're optimistic, enthusiastic, it creates this ripple effect, spreads that positivity.
Powerful reminder that our actions, our attitudes, they have a lasting impact, especially on those closest to us. Speaking of impact, what about Gimmer's thoughts on personal branding? He seems big on positioning yourself as a leader in your field.
Yeah, he encourages salespeople to be more than just salespeople. Establish themselves as experts, write articles, share their knowledge, do things that make them thought leaders.
So it's not just about selling, it's about educating, adding value, building credibility so people see you as the go-to person in your field.
Exactly. Build a reputation that goes beyond individual sales. And this personal branding idea, it's not just for salespeople, it's for anyone who wants to make a mark.
Makes me think of Gray's focus on the personal brand we build in relationships, how the little things add up, the way we communicate, the gestures we make, how much attention we give, it all creates an image.
Great connection. Both Gimmer and Gray, they're all about consistency, intentionality, be mindful of how our actions, our words affect others, and consciously cultivate the qualities we want to be known for.
Gimmer's also big on continuous learning, self-improvement. Always be a student, keep learning, refine your skills.
Right. He even suggests recording yourself, giving presentations, critiquing your performance. Embrace that growth mindset, always room for improvement.
Watching yourself on camera can be tough, but I see the value. It's easy to get complacent, think you've got it all figured out, but there's always something new to learn. Does Gray have any thoughts on continuous learning? In the context of relationships, I mean.
Definitely. He's big on self-awareness. Understanding your own needs, your triggers, encourages couples to be open about their expectations, Work together to create a relationship that's more fulfilling.
Makes sense. Relationships are always changing. Got to be willing to adapt, grow together, be open to feedback, learn from mistakes, strive to be the best partner you can be. Sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah.
But I guess anything worthwhile takes effort, right?
Absolutely. Building strong relationships, it takes time, energy. Doesn't matter if it's sales, business, or personal life. Got to be willing to put in the work. But the rewards, totally worth it.
I'm curious about Gimmer's view on investing in yourself. He seems to think personal growth is key to success.
Yeah, he encourages people to invest not just money, but time and energy too. Prioritize things that help you grow, whether it's reading, workshops, or just taking time to reflect.
And Gray talks about self-care, physically, emotionally, even suggests getting a little exercise every day. Boost those feel-good chemicals.
It's a good reminder to take care of yourself so you can show up as your best self in all areas of life, including relationships. When you feel good, you're better equipped to handle challenges, communicate well, build strong connections.
This brings us back to Gimmer's idea of starting with yourself. Can't be your best for others until you're best for yourself.
Powerful message. And it fits with what Gray says about self-awareness, taking responsibility in relationships. When we understand ourselves better, our needs, our triggers, our communication styles, we can build better connections.
Wow, we've covered a lot. We talked about understanding customer motivations, milking your own cows, personal branding, continuous learning, investing in yourself. I see a theme here. Building genuine connections, focusing on that human element.
You got it. Sales, relationships, personal growth. It all comes down to understanding people, connecting authentically, creating those win-win situations.
It's amazing how these topics all tie together. Really looking forward to hearing your final thoughts as we wrap this up.
Let's bring it all home in the last part of our discussion.
So we really dug into Jeffrey Gimmer's unique approach to sales, explored John Gray's insights into those Mars-Venus communication differences, and wow, we found some interesting links between sales, relationships, and personal growth. One thing that keeps coming up for me is that yes attitude. Both Geimer and Gray seem to think that being positive is like a key ingredient for success, no matter what you're doing.
Totally. Gimmer calls it a self-imposed blessing, like it's a choice,
Yeah.
Every single day, you choose to face challenges head-on with optimism, ready to find a solution. No getting stuck in negativity or dwelling on stuff you can't change.
It's funny because he talks about it for sales, but it feels like it could apply to, well, pretty much anything.
Exactly. Think about it. When you're feeling good, optimistic, doesn't everything just seem to go smoother? You take on those challenges, connect with people easier, even get more creative with problem solving.
Yeah, when I'm feeling upbeat, things definitely flow better. But how do you actually, build that yes attitude? Especially when you're dealing with setbacks, negativity. It's easy to say, be positive, but actually doing it, not so easy sometimes.
It takes practice, for sure. It's a conscious effort. Geimer suggests starting each day with something positive, like an affirmation or just thinking about what you're grateful for. Focusing on the good stuff, even if it's small, can really shift your mindset.
I've tried gratitude journaling before. It really does help. It's so easy to focus on the negative,
Yeah.
but, taking a minute to appreciate the good, big difference.
Demer also talks about reframing. Like, see challenges as opportunities for growth. Don't look at setbacks and failures, but as chances to learn, get stronger.
There's that quote, right? Every failure is a chance to begin again more intelligently. Finding the silver lining, using challenges to learn and grow.
Exactly. It's about changing your perspective. Instead of asking, why me?
Yeah.
Ask, what can I learn from this?
Gimmer also says it's important to hang out with positive people. Our mindset is contagious, right? Being around those upbeat, supportive folks can help keep you motivated, focused on your goals.
So true. The people we spend our time with, they really influence how we see the world, our energy levels too.
Makes me think about what Gray said about communication and relationships.
Right.
If you're always talking to someone negative, critical, it's going to bring you down, right? But if you're with people who lift you up, encourage you, it helps you stay positive, even when things are tough.
It's all about creating that positive feedback loop. The more you surround yourself with good vibes, the more you reinforce it in yourself.
Feels like we've come full circle. We started with Gimmer's bold approach to sales, and now we're talking about this yes attitude for everything.
It is amazing how it all connects, right? Sales, relationships, personal growth, it all comes back to understanding people, making genuine connections, and approaching life with that positive, can-do spirit.
Gotta admit, I was a little skeptical at first. Some of Gimmer's stuff seemed a bit out there. I wasn't sure how it applied to me. But now, I see it. It's not just sales tricks. It's about getting people, building real relationships, and facing life with that positive, solution-focused outlook.
You nailed it. We have more control over our experiences than we think. We can choose to focus on the good, look for those growth opportunities, and build that mindset that helps us create the life we want.
So wrapping up this deep dive, I'm feeling, optimistic and more determined to build my own yes attitude.
That's great to hear. It's a journey, remember that. There will be bumps along the way, but if you stay positive, keep learning and growing, you can achieve amazing things. Keep exploring, keep connecting, and keep diving deep.